Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Yep. Yes. Yes.
It's in the British.
Hi, guys. Original link to the video, top of the description. Below that, link to the Discord. We'd love to have you. British Army ranks in order. Okay.
British Army, working out what order they...
Let's learn.
There are so many ranks in the British Army. Working out what order they progress in can be confusing to those who aren't educated on the topic. In this video, we look at a simple guide to British Army ranks in their correct order.
Right.
Private. On completion of basic training, all new soldiers start as privates, although the title may be trooper, gunner, signaller, sapper, guardsman, rifleman, or even kingsman, depending on the corps of regiment in which they are serving. Lance Corporal. Promotion to Lance Corporal may follow after initial trade training or after about 4 years as a private. Lance Corporals are required to supervise a small team of
4 years. It seems like a lot, doesn't it? Just to go up from the first rank.
up to 4 soldiers called as sectorals are required to after
what?
about 4 years as a private.
Yeah, what do they do?
Lance Corporals are required to supervise a small team of up to 4 soldiers called a section. They also have opportunities to specialise and undertake specialist military training. Corporal.
That's the smallest group of soldiers. Maybe I can take the chance. I need to do this. I always say I'm going to memorize the, you know, the words like battalion, platoon, regiment, whatever. I've never memorized like what that meant. And if I do, when I do, I'm going to do that after this. It could really help with a lot of like history videos where you're learning, you know, those words pop up and you're not quite sure, you know, the amount of people. Anyways, also, I'm pausing already. I learned what the meaning of the downward sort of arrow-ish look of the badges here, but I forget what it was, why it's shaped like this.
After 6 to 8 years, and depending on ability to lead, promotion to corporal typically follows. In this rank, additional trade and instructor qualifications can be gained. Corporals are given command of more soldiers and equipment, such as tanks and guns. Sergeant. Sergeant is a senior role of responsibility, promotion to which typically takes place after 12 years of service depending on ability.
12. Okay, is this, maybe I'm basing my expectations on like Band of Brothers, but in peacetime, do people tend to level up or rank up slower than in wartime, where they might, you know, people might portray certain leadership traits more obviously in an attack scenario, and so they might be bumped up rather than if it's more peacetime and training that they've been involved with, it's more of a just waiting game. Does that make sense?
Sergeants typically are second in command of a troop or platoon of up to 35 soldiers, with the important responsibility for advising and assisting junior officers. Staff Sergeant. After a few years as a sergeant, promotion to either staff or colour sergeant may follow. This is a senior role combining man and resource management of around 120 soldiers, or even command of a platoon or troop. Warrant Officer Class 2. This is a senior management role focusing on the training, welfare and discipline of a company, squadron or battery of up to 120 soldiers. WO2s act as the senior advisors to the major in command of the subunit and may also be selected for a commission as an officer.
How is that any different from the previous rank? Guys, just go forward. Just press the forward button if you want to just see the next.
Junior officers. Staff Sergeant. After a few years as a sergeant, promotion to either staff or colour sergeant may follow. This is a senior role combining man and resource management of around 120 soldiers, or even command of a platoon or troop. Warrant Officer Class 2. This is a senior management role focusing on the training, welfare and discipline of a company, squadron or battery of up to 120 soldiers. WO2s act as the senior advisors to the major in command of the subunit and may also be selected for a commission as an officer.
Okay, so the warrant officer second class, so the staff sergeant is the head guy of that 120 man group and is the boss of all of the under ranks, okay? And the warrant officer class 2 is this guy's sort of boss, but he doesn't do as much of the, in-person direct leadership and is more of just the warrant officer second class's job is to more just report and be the in-between between a staff sergeant and the higher up guy. I think I understood that. Was that right?
Unit, and may also be selected for a commission of advisors to the major in command of the subunit.
So the major isn't going to deal directly with the staff sergeant. He's going to talk to the second class warrant officer, who will talk to the staff sergeant, who's in charge of everyone. And may also in that 120
be selected for a commission as an officer. Warrant Officer Class 1. The most senior soldier rank in the British Army, typically reached after 18 years of outstanding service. WO1 are the senior advisors of their unit's commanding officer, with leadership, discipline and welfare responsibilities of up to 650 officers, soldiers and equipment. Officer Cadet.
There's a middleman to the middleman? Okay, well, I don't know what that guy's job is. It seems a bit redundant to the second class warrant officer, since he's already the in-between between. Okay.
This is the rank equipment.
Guys, please, if I'm saying it, I appreciate any comments, correcting or answering any of my questions. I really would.
Officer Cadet. This is the rank held during initial officer training at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, or in the University Officers Training Corps. It, like a private, has no insignia.
That's it? What?
Lieutenant. This is the
what?
Equipment held during initial Officer Cadet. This is the rank held during initial officer training at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, or in the University Officers Training Corps.
Okay, so I'm assuming this is the beginning level for more that have gotten more degrees, like in more years in college, and are going right into training as an upper officer, rather than starting all the way rather than like a starting infantryman. I'm guessing that's what this is. So like if you had schooling and you're trying to, you're qualified for upper positions, this is the first rank for that.
Private has no insignia. Second Lieutenant. This is the rank held on commissioning from the Royal Military Academy. It's normally held for 1 to 2 years. During their time as Second Lieutenant, officers complete special to arms training relevant to their corps. After training is complete, they are responsible for leading up to 30 soldiers in a platoon or troop, both in training and on operations.
So that's the second stage of the officer cadet?
2 to 3 have the upper captain increase responsibilities from being a second lieutenant. Soldiers in a platoon or troop, both in training and on operations. Lieutenant. The rank of lieutenant is typically held for 2 to 3 years. They normally command a platoon or troop of around 30 soldiers, with the increased responsibilities from being a second lieutenant. They also have the opportunity to gain specialised skills outside their unit. Captain. The rank of captain is typically held for 5 to 10 years. Captains are normally made second in command of a sub-unit of up to 120 soldiers. They are key players in the planning and for Captain. The rank of captain is typically held for 5 to 10 years. Captains are normally made second in command of a sub-unit of up to 120 soldiers. They are key players in the planning and decision-making process, with tactical responsibility for operations on the ground, as well as equipment maintenance, logistics support, and personnel.
Why do corporals, or was it staff sergeant? Why do sergeants and corporals have the same job as captains? Is it when there's like a really important, do captains like go around different, the groups of units that the sergeants and corporals lead? Okay.
Both in camp and personnel. Major.
I didn't really get that one.
Typically, a major will be given command of a sub-unit of up to 120 officers and soldiers, with responsibility for their training, welfare, and administration, both in camp and operations, as well as the management of their equipment.
Again, guys, there's something I missed or I didn't get, or it's getting lost in translation here of why does it seem like the responsibilities of these ranks are repeating the responsibilities of these ones?
Lieutenant Colonel. Lieutenant Colonels typically command units of up to 650 soldiers.
Okay, now that's a bump up. I was confused because these ones were also given 120, just like these guys.
4 to 5 subs typically command units of up to 650 soldiers, containing 4 to 5 subunits, known as the commanding officer. They are responsible for the overall operational effectiveness of their unit in terms of the military capability, welfare, and general discipline. Commanding officer is typically a 2-year appointment.
Okay.
Colonel. Colonels are not usually field commanders, except in the Royal Army Medical Corps.
Okay, so these guys are like the lieutenant colonel is the big dog, like the big guy in all of the fighting structure. And then we get to ranks that are more kind of backline, not so combat involved.
Colonels are a 2-year
appointment. Or direct combat involved.
Colonel. Colonels are not usually field commanders, except in the Royal Army Medical Corps. Typically, they serve as staff officers between field commands at battalion and brigade level. It's the lowest of the staff ranks, and they are the principal advisors to senior officers.
Okay.
Brigadier. Brigadier is not considered to be a general officer rank by the British Army, but rather a field officer rank. Brigadiers can command a brigade or be a director of operational capability groups, such as the Director of Staff. Major General. It's the lowest of the staff rank.
I kind of spaced out there and I was thinking about an earlier part. Sorry, I missed the Brigadier.
Advisors to senior officers. Brigadier. Brigadier is not considered to be a general officer rank by the British Army, but rather a field officer rank. Brigadiers can command a brigade or be a director of operational capability groups, such as the Director of Staff. Major
Brigade. No, a brigade, not a brigadier. 6 battalions. See, this is what I got 3,000 men right there.
Major capability groups, such as the Director of Staff. Major General. Major Generals command formations of division size and the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. They hold senior staff appointments in the Ministry of Defence, as well as other headquarters.
Okay.
Lieutenant General.
So Major General is certainly not anywhere near the battlefield. He's more like back with like the politicians type thing. So he's
Major generals command formations of division size and the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. They hold senior staff appointments in the Ministry of Defence as well as other headquarters. Lieutenant General. Lieutenant Generals command formations of corps size and other commands in the UK and overseas. They also hold very senior staff appointments in the Ministry of Defence as well as other headquarters. General. Generals hold the most senior appointments, such as the Chief of Defence Staff, Vice Chief of Defence Staff, Chief of the General Staff, Deputy Supreme Allied Commander Europe, and the Commander-in-Chief of Land Forces.
okay. So the general is the guy, like I know, like I remember learning about, what was it, Schwarzkopf in the Gulf War. Invading Iraq, 91, I think it was, Desert Storm. So the general is the guy of like when there's an entire military invasion or something, like he is in charge of all of that. Like the president doesn't deal with that stuff. The Secretary of Defense doesn't deal with that stuff. So he is like, when you have a giant military operation you're carrying out, he is the top of like, he doesn't go to really anyone, unless I'm sure he goes to the Secretary of Defense or the president in special circumstances, but in essence he's the guy who, like, he's the top, like he has no like over commander. He's the boss, like the kind of CEO of the army kind of thing. Okay.
Field Marshal. This is the highest rank in the British Army and has been since 1736.
Or is it this guy?
The rank of Field Marshal has become an honorary rank, with the last active officer to be promoted to the rank in 1994. Hopefully that will... This is the highest rank in the British Army and has been since 1736.
Sounded ceremonial.
The rank of Field Marshal has become an honorary rank, with the last active officer to be promoted to the rank in 1994.
So it's now an honorary rank since 94. And so what was it before it was an honorary rank? Was he just like the general's boss, I wonder? Really awesome video, by the way.
Hopefully that will give you some insight as to the basic
Absolutely.
rank structure of the modern British Army. Leave a comment down below telling us which rank you believe to be the most important in the British Army.
Yeah, I mean, general. Yeah. Well, maybe the generals. If you have a really good, who was the guy that was the head of, if you have a really good staff sergeant, maybe that's the most important, but if he's really good. But other than that, maybe a really good captain. But I would say probably. I'm trying to think what is the least replaceable. Just because general's the top doesn't mean. I mean, the general's in charge of troop movement, right? So a really good general would be the most important, right? Really awesome video. These are the videos especially where one, I'm interested in it. Two, I don't know a lot about it. And three, it's going to help me a ton in a lot of the videos I watch, especially the history battle type videos, to sort of memorize and know this stuff. And the meaning of brigades and platoon or battalion, whatever that is. Just knowing those in order of number of troops, but very interesting. I'm still nowhere near having it solid, but it was a great video to start. It was only 7.5 minutes, but I feel like I might have made this like a 20-minute video. Love you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Again, would really, really appreciate any and all comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.